The cheating wife who called her husband controlling, a 2-week betrayal. Asterisk, imagine your wife tells you she's going on a 2-week girls' trip to Florida. Beach resort. Cocktails by the pool. Quality time with her best friends. Now imagine walking into a bar 12 days later and seeing 2 of those friends sitting there with their husbands in your hometown. They're not in Florida. They never were in Florida. So, where's your wife? This is the story of a man who discovered his wife's girls' trip was actually a lie. A carefully orchestrated, meticulously planned lie that involved fake photos, coordinated cover stories, and a secret she'd been hiding for months. But here's the twist. When he changed the locks and packed her bags, she told him he was the one, being unreasonable, that he was overreacting, that he was being controlling. Was he? Let's find out. Asterisk, asterisk, the setup. 6 weeks of red flags. Asterisk, let me take you back 6 weeks. Our storyteller, let's call him David, is married to a woman he trusts completely. They've built a life together, a home, a future. And then she comes to him with an announcement. She's going on a girls' trip. Her and 3 of her best friends. 2 weeks at a beach resort in Florida. They've been planning it forever, she says. She needs the break, she says. David thinks 2 weeks is a long time. That's not a weekend getaway, that's half a month. But he doesn't want to be that husband, the controlling one, the insecure one. So he says okay, fine, have fun. But then something changes. The week before she's supposed to leave, his wife starts acting different, secretive. She angles her phone away from him when she's texting. She takes it to the bathroom with her. When he walks into a room, she quickly closes whatever she was looking at. David notices. Of course he notices. So he asks her about it, and she tells him he's being paranoid. She says her friends are just planning surprise activities for the trip, and she doesn't want to spoil anything. Surprise activities. That's the explanation. And David, because he loves her, because he trusts her, because he doesn't want to be paranoid, he accepts it. She leaves on a Wednesday. Asterisk, asterisk, the disappearing act. Asterisk, the first few days seem normal. David's wife texts him regularly. She sends pictures of the beach, the hotel pool, colorful drinks with little umbrellas. Everything you'd expect from a girl's trip to Florida. David feels stupid for doubting her. See, nothing to worry about. She's just having fun with her friends. But then the texts start to slow down. By day 5, he's getting maybe 1 message a day. Short ones. Having fun. Beach is beautiful. Nothing substantial. Nothing that feels like his wife. When he calls, she answers, but she sounds distracted, distant. She says the service is bad. The connection keeps cutting out. She has to go. David tells himself it's fine. She's on vacation. She's allowed to unplug. He's being paranoid again. And then day 8 hits. Nothing. Not a single text. Not a single call. Radio silence. David calls 4 times. Sends a dozen texts. His mind is racing. Is she okay? Did something happen? Is her phone lost? Is she hurt? Finally, at 11 p.m., he gets a response. Sorry, phone died. Been at the spa all day. He asks which spa, a simple question. The kind of question you ask when you're interested in your partner's day. She says she can't remember the name. She can't remember the name of the spa she supposedly spent the entire day at. The spa that was so consuming she couldn't charge her phone or contact her husband for 12 hours. David's gut is screaming at him now. Something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. But he doesn't want to be that husband. So he tells himself to trust her. For more days, he thinks. For more days and she'll be home and everything will be fine. Asterisk, asterisk, the bar encounter when the house of cards collapsed. Asterisk, asterisk, last night. Day 12 of the trip. David decides to grab a beer at a sports bar near their house. Nothing special. Just trying to distract himself from the nagging feeling that something isn't right. He walks in, orders a beer, glances around the room, and that's when he sees them, 2 of his wife's friends, the ones who are supposedly in Florida with her right now, sitting in a booth with their husbands. David said their faces went white when they saw him. Absolutely white, like they'd seen a ghost. He walks over to their table, and he asks the most logical question in the world. "What are you doing here?" One of them stammers, says they came back early. David asks when. She says this morning. This morning. So they flew back from Florida this morning and immediately went to a sports bar in their hometown. Sure, that makes sense, but David's not stupid. He asks the question that's really on his mind. "Where is my wife?" The friends look at each other, the kind of look that says everything without saying anything at all. David pushes. "She's still in Florida." No answer. "She is in Florida, right?" And that's when one of them starts crying. She says she's so sorry, that David's wife swore them to secrecy. And then she says the words that shatter David's entire world. She's not in Florida. Asterisk. The truth, months of planning. Asterisk. David sits down. He has to. His legs won't hold him anymore. He asks where his wife is, and the friend tells him she doesn't know exactly, but she knows why she's not in Florida. David's wife reconnected with her ex-boyfriend on social media a few months ago. They've been talking, messaging, building something. And this 2-week girl's trip to Florida was never about Florida at all. It was about meeting up with him, with the ex-boyfriend. Let that sink in for a moment. For months, David's wife had been planning this. She reconnected with an ex, started an emotional affair, decided she needed to see him in person, and then she constructed an elaborate liar fake vacation with fake photos and real friends, who agreed to cover for her. David asks the obvious question. Did they ever plan to go to Florida? No, never. It was always about the ex-boyfriend. His wife had asked her friends to post pictures and cover for her if David called them. They refused at first because even they knew how messed up this was, but she begged. She told them she just needed closure with this guy, that it wasn't about cheating, just unfinished business. Unfinished business. That's what she called it. The friends admitted they felt horrible, but she's their friend. She convinced them it was harmless, that she'd be back in 2 days anyway, and David would never know. David would never know. They actually believed they could pull this off. Asterisk. The phone call. Justification as gaslighting. Asterisk. David leaves the bar. He's in shock. His entire reality has just been rewritten. He drives home, gets inside, and immediately calls his wife. No answer. He texts her. "I know, your friends told me everything." She calls back immediately. She's crying, and the first words out of her mouth are, "It's not what you think. It's not what you think." The universal phrase of guilty people everywhere. David asks where she is. She says at her hotel. He asks where. She says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She's at a secret location with another man, and she's telling her husband. The location doesn't matter. David asks if she's with him, with the ex-boyfriend. She says yes. Yes, she admits it. But then she adds, "But we're just talking. 2 weeks in a hotel room with an ex-boyfriend. Just talking." David hangs up. His wife starts calling non-stop, blowing up his phone. Desperate now that the lie has collapsed. She sends him a long text. And this is where it gets psychologically fascinating. Because in this text, she doesn't apologize. She doesn't beg for forgiveness. She justifies. She says she needed to do this. That she's had feelings for this guy since before she married David. That she needed to know if they were real. She had feelings for another man since before her marriage. And she's just now telling her husband this, while she's in a hotel room with that man. But it gets worse. She says she wasn't planning to cheat, just to talk and get closure. And this is the line that reveals everything about who she is. She says, "This doesn't change anything. This doesn't change anything." She lied for months, created a fake vacation, spent 2 weeks with another man, and she genuinely believes this doesn't change anything. Asterisk. The consequences. Who's really being controlling? Asterisk. David packs her stuff, every piece of clothing, every toiletry, every reminder of the person he thought he knew. He puts it all in the garage. Then he changes the locks. His wife is flying back tomorrow, and she's been texting him non-stop. But she's not apologizing. She's not begging him to reconsider. She's telling him he's overreacting. She says she hasn't done anything wrong, that he's being controlling by not letting her process her emotions about her past. Controlling? He's being controlling because he won't let her spend 2 weeks with her ex-boyfriend guilt-free. Her friends keep calling. They're apologizing now. Now that everything's blown up and they realize they're complicit in destroying a marriage. Suddenly they feel bad. Her mother calls, and the mother says David needs to hear her out. That women sometimes need space to figure things out and he's being unreasonable. Women need space to figure things out. That's the defense. As if lying to your husband for months and flying across the country to meet your ex-boyfriend is just a normal part of figuring things out. David's own brother is telling him to wait, to hear her explanation before making any decisions. But here's what everyone's missing. He already knows the explanation. She told him she had feelings for her ex. She needed closure. She planned an entire fake trip to get it. She got her friends to cover for her. And now that she's been caught, she's reframing him as the bad guy. The gaslighting asterisk. Let's break down what David's wife actually did. Because the way she's spinning it is masterful gaslighting. She reconnected with an ex on social media months ago. That's premeditation. She started an emotional affair. That's betrayal number 1. She decided she needed to see him in person. That's escalation. She created an elaborate fake vacation story. That's calculated deception. She recruited her friends to lie for her. That's conspiracy. She posted fake photos to maintain the illusion. That's ongoing fraud. She became increasingly distant and unavailable. That's emotional abandonment. She spent 2 weeks in a hotel with another man. That's, well, you decide what that is. And when confronted, she says he's overreacting. He's controlling. He's being unreasonable. This is textbook manipulation. She's trying to shift the narrative so that David's completely reasonable response to her betrayal becomes evidence of his character flaws. She just needed closure. As if closure requires 2 weeks alone in a hotel with your ex. She wasn't planning to cheat. As if emotional betrayal and lying don't count as cheating. She loves him, and this doesn't change anything. As if trust can survive being shattered like this. Asterisk the real questions asterisk, but here's what I want to know. What exactly was she planning to do for 2 weeks with this ex-boyfriend if they were just talking? How much talking can you do? How many hours of conversation does closure require? And here's the bigger question. If she's had feelings for this guy since before her marriage, why did she marry David? Was he always second choice? Was he the safe option while she kept the ex-boyfriend in her back pocket just in case? Because that's what this looks like. This looks like a woman who married a good man while maintaining an emotional backup plan. And the moment she could engineer an opportunity to explore it, she did. She didn't slip up. She didn't make a mistake. She planned this for months. Every detail. Every lie. Every fake beach photo. And now David is sitting in his house with his wife's belongings in the garage. And half the people in his life are telling him he's overreacting. His brother says he should hear her out before making decisions. But what is she going to say that changes any of this? What explanation could possibly justify what she did? I needed closure isn't an explanation, it's an excuse. I wasn't planning to cheat means I was planning to do everything up to the technical definition of cheating and hoping you'd be okay with it. This doesn't change anything means I want to do whatever I want with 0 consequences. The verdict asterisk. So let me ask you, is David overreacting? Should he hear her out? Should he unlock the door, let her back in, and try to rebuild trust with someone who spent months constructing an elaborate lie to spend 2 weeks with another man? Or should he do exactly what he did, draw a line and say this is not acceptable, this is not fixable, this is over? Because here's the truth, trust is like glass. Once it's shattered, you can try to glue it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. You'll always feel the sharp edges. David's wife didn't just break his trust. She systematically dismantled it over months. Every time she messaged her ex, every time she planned another detail of her fake trip, every time she looked him in the eye and lied. And now she wants him to believe she just needed closure, and that he's being controlling for not understanding. Some betrayals are too calculated to forgive. Some lies are too elaborate to explain away. Some marriages are too broken to save. This might be one of them. Closing. The question so I want to hear from you. What would you do? Would you hear her out? Would you consider that maybe she really did just need closure and nothing physical happened? Or would you do what David did, pack her bags, change the locks, and refuse to be gaslighted into believing you're the problem? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever been in a situation where someone tried to make you feel crazy for having a completely reasonable reaction to their betrayal, share your story. Because gaslighting only works when victims doubt themselves, and David shouldn't doubt himself for 1 second. Thanks for watching.